If you can do all five, you will have the ability to absolutely stand out and crush it as a pre-PT applicant, future physical therapy student, future physical therapist, whatever you want to call yourself. You'll have the ability to do all of it and more. Turning dreams into reality. Hey, what is up? How you doing? Pre-PTs, this is for you if you want to learn how to stand out for physical therapy school. It's easily one of the top questions we've gotten for years. Students that are in different walks, different struggles, whether it's GPA, whether it's GRE, whether it's having applied before and not gotten in, and they just want to figure out this one thing. How do I stand out for schools? How do I put myself in a position to where when I apply to schools, the right schools will actually want to accept me? So if that is what you want, you are in the right place. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in the next few minutes. And of course, if you find a lot of value in this particular training, please be sure to like, subscribe, share this out with a friend that you believe will value this. And then we will continue serving you. And obviously we have a lot of free value already here for you that you can binge and take and run with and use to get one step closer to your dream of becoming a physical therapist. But before I share that with you, my name is Ngugi. I'm a physical therapist, one of the co-founders of Pre-PT Grind, where for years we've been helping students just like you get into PT school. So if you're trying to become a physical therapist, you're in the right place. Just keep listening, keep learning, keep leveling up, and use this as your launching pad to get massively closer to your dream of becoming a PT. So let's talk about standing out. So I just want to share with you 5 things. And we've coached tons of students. And so we've just watched this over and over and over again. And when students apply these 5 things, they absolutely crush it. So let me tell you the 5 points and then I'll break them down. Is that cool? So number 1, we're going to talk about what stands out to you, because if we're going to stand out to the schools, we have to start looking at some of the things that already stand out to you. And I'll explain what that means here in just a few moments. So that's the first part. The second part is the school research, right? The schools that I applying to the right schools, learning how to find the right schools, because that plays into my ability to be able to stand out. Number 3, professional insight, right? And I'll explain what that means here in a few moments. Number 4, going through the obstacles. And then number 5, accountability. So I'll explain all 5 of them, but if you can do all 5, you will have the ability to absolutely stand out and crush it as a pre-PT applicant, future physical therapy student, future physical therapist, whatever you want to call yourself. You'll have the ability to do all of it and more. Cool. So let's go through it. So number 1, what stands out to you? So one of the simplest questions, but probably one of the most powerful questions is, if you switched roles with the PT program, if you were the chair of a department, what would you be looking for? What would stand out to you? What are the qualities in students that would stand out to you and why? If you've never thought through that, please take a brief moment, grab a piece of paper and just put yourself in the position of a chair of a department, or maybe you are the head of the admissions department of whatever school you want to work at. Just make it up in your head and say, what are the qualities that I would be looking for in a student, like for real, and why? Always remembering the fact that as a school, there's certain things that you're naturally concerned about. You want to make sure that it's a student that can handle the rigor of your program, that can fit the culture, that aligns with the profession, that you feel would actually make it all the way through. Maybe has a lot of the grit, right? Maybe they want to be a physical, you have certain underlying things that you're looking for, but what specific things would stand out to you? If you were looking at 500 applications, if you were looking at 800 applications, what would stand out to you? Make a list of it. And then one of the simplest questions you can ask yourself is, am I doing those things? Because I think a lot of times as students, we tend to give ourselves some slack. Well, we're either too hard on ourselves or we give ourselves too much slack. We are hard on ourselves because we feel like we'll never be good enough, which I'm here to tell you that you do have the ability to be absolutely amazing as an applicant, despite where you're at. But on the other side, we end up saying, well, if they just knew how much I've been through, if they just knew how hard I work, if they just knew all these things, they would accept me. But the question is, what would you be looking for? Meaning, what would actually be in front of you? Like what evidence, what proof would you be looking for in other students if you were the chair? And are you showing that? Because what will happen is instantly you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I have to switch this. Maybe I have to do that. Maybe I have to do this. And so that's one of the first things. If you want to stand out to a school, start by asking yourself, what stands out to you, or what would stand out to you? And then also pay attention to some of the other stuff that you're attracted to every single day. You're on social media, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're on YouTube or whatever, right? And so when you're scrolling through IG or when you're scrolling through TikTok, what captures your attention? Is it what is it? Is it the way someone words something? Is it like how entertaining something is? Is it the fact that there is a certain channel that is very consistent, so they consistently have a lot of content or a lot of value. Maybe you're attracted to their consistency or whatever it is, right? So like ask yourself, what are the qualities? Because you might not realize it, but in the things that attract you day to day, there are certain underlying qualities that you can actually portray, right? So if consistency is something that you are attracted to, then how are you showing that in your academic performance? How are you showing that in your journey as a pre-PT? How are you showing that in how consistent you are with going through some of the hard things, which we will talk about in a later point? But just ask yourself as an applicant, like if the school is going to take a bet on you, what are the things that you would be looking for? What would stand out to you? And can you start emulating that? Because if you do that alone, you'd be surprised how many things will, number one, start popping in your mind. But number two, how much action that you'll start taking overall as an applicant. So that is the first point. So please write that down. That's like what stands out to you. Number two, school research. School research. Always remember this, and I think this is a part that a lot of students struggle with understanding, but every school is slightly different, right? So not all schools don't look for the exact same thing. Some schools look for lower GPAs that are cumulative. Some schools look for higher ones. Some schools look for the GRE, others don't, right? So make sure that when you're looking for schools, ask yourself, which schools are the best match for me? Not just which schools are down the street, right? Which schools give me the best chance to thrive? Which schools do I feel like I could perform the best in based off of my strengths, based off of how I learn? Which schools do I feel will allow me to basically still stand out, even though I may have had a rough start academically, right? Which schools are going to basically like be the perfect fit if I control everything that I have control over, right? So like all the controllables, whether that is your prerequisite GPA, whether that is experiences, and we can go down into all those different things, like which schools will give me the best chance of standing out financially, location, we can go down the whole list, but school match is a big deal. So number one, what match, like what stands out to me as like, if I was in the position of the chair of the department, what would stand out to me? Number two, school selection. Am I picking the right schools? And what you'll realize very quickly is if you can pick the right schools, there's tons of schools out there. There's like nearly 300 schools in the country right now, right? But if you pick the right schools, you should be able to narrow it down to somewhere between 4 and 7 programs. If you can do that, you will have hit the sweet spot. Number 3, though, is professional insight. If I want to stand out, I have to understand the profession that I'm going into. How much research have you put into understanding the profession? What it does is I'm actually able to speak to the professors or the faculty at their level. I'm able to talk about the profession, not just as a student that sees it as, yeah, I'll be able to help people, but I can actually talk about hot topics that are happening right now. Do you know what's happening in physical therapy today? Do you know what's happening in physical therapy with when it comes to insurance, when it comes to this, when it comes to that? Like please just take a few moments, take some time and just understand what's going on in physical therapy and how can I ask better questions in my interviews? How can I ask better questions when I do campus visits? How can I use that to create a much higher level of conversation with the faculty members because they understand it, right? But most students aren't talking about that. And so if you start talking about it, then all of a sudden you will stand out. So let me know if that makes sense. That's point number 3, professional insight. Number 4, go through obstacles. Go through obstacles. Please, one of the biggest things that I cannot emphasize enough is, as a student, look at all of the biggest things that you're like, oh, well, classes I have to retake. I don't want to have to retake classes, or the GRE. I've never been good at standardized exams, or all the things that you feel are barriers that you just don't want to navigate through. You want to figure out another way around them. Please don't avoid them. Don't avoid them. One of the worst things you can do is actually try to avoid them. Figure out, how do I go through them? How can I go through my obstacles? If there are prerequisite classes that I need to retake, how can I retake them and get an A? Which means that I'm probably going to have to ask for help. And asking for help, by the way, is a very smart thing to do, right? So can I ask for help, right? So if I retake chemistry, well, I don't want to take chemistry again. I know I got a C, but I don't want to take it again. Well, instead of going around it, show them that you can actually take a class like that and show them the version of yourself that you are now as an applicant, as a student. Show them the version of yourself that you are now by saying, I'm going to retake that class. I'm going to go through that obstacle, but I'm going to get a tutor, or I'm going to get a mentor, or I'm going to get help, or I'm going to have a study group, whatever it is. When it comes to the GRE, I'm going to take the GRE, but I'm going to hire someone or be around other students that have figured out how to dominate the GRE, even if they might have never been really good at standardized exams in the past, right? But I'm going to go through it, because if I can go through it, then my application as a whole, number one, showcases that. But number two, the version of myself that they will see is like, wow, this student is resilient. This student is strong academically. Even though they struggled with chemistry in the past, look at what they were able to do. We know now that if we bring them into this program, they'll be able to handle it. They'll be able to handle the board exam when they get to it. But you don't show that unless you decide to go through your obstacles. Most students want to, like it's human to try to avoid our obstacles. But if you start deciding, you know what, every single obstacle, I'm going to figure out who can help me go through it, the game will change for you. So that's point number 4. Go through your obstacles, not around them. And then number 5 is accountability. Ask yourself, do I have a support system? If you want to stand out, one of the biggest things with standing out is just being consistent, right? It's easy to have days where you feel very confident in yourself and you're very excited and you're motivated and you can do a lot of different things and whatnot. But we also have low days. We also have days where we doubt ourselves. We also have days where maybe who we're hearing every single day is maybe discouraging us or telling us that we should have a backup plan or that we should be considering something else because our GPA is too low, and we start to believe that, right? Having accountability and a support system that actually draws you closer to your dream every single time is big. I've seen students give up on the career of their dream because they didn't have that. I've seen students give up temporarily and then 4, 5, 6 years later decide to pursue PT again because they realized that's what they really wanted. But if they had the accountability, if they had a support system, if they put themselves around other students that were on the same path, other students that had been on that path, other mentors or other physical therapists that could push them and guide them, it would have helped them realize that, number one, a lot of the challenges that they felt made them feel like they were never going to be good enough were actually normal. They were experienced by tons of other students. And those other students who experienced them were still able to get into physical therapy school. And if they could do it, then it's a reminder that you can do it as well. And it's one thing that we always say is the fact that the only way you don't realize your dream of becoming a physical therapist is if you quit. It's if you pull the plug, right? So if there are ways for us to constantly push and not give up on ourselves and have the support system and accountability to actually help us pull this off even on our low days, then we will constantly keep showing up for ourselves over and over and over and over and over again, without ever self-sabotaging, without ever pulling the plug, without ever considering a plan B. And if you can do that, you will be able to realize your dream of becoming a physical therapist, and you will be able to stand out as an applicant, because a lot of students don't do all 5 of those. So I hope that was helpful. If this was valuable, number 1, please like, subscribe, and share it out with your friends. Number 2, if you're like, you know what, I don't have the support, I don't have the network, I don't have the accountability, I don't have people around me that have been on this path before, then we got you covered. Go to www.ptschoolacceptance.com. www.ptschoolacceptance.com, and we'll show you how you can join our pre-PT grind network, where we're just going to help you navigate through everything that I just talked about on this training and so much more, because it's your dream. It's your dream to become a physical therapist, and we want to help you get there without ever getting in your own way, without anyone else getting in your own way, without your classes, your grades, the GRE, or any of the other things that we struggle with getting in your way, because it's a dream. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you want to be sitting on the other side saying, wow, I'm glad that I was able to figure it out. I'm glad that I was able to keep going and not quit, and ultimately realize my dream of serving others through the field of physical therapy. So that's it. Looking forward to seeing you on the next training. Have a great one. Hope this was valuable. Have a blessed one. Bye.